my come up was really fast. And so I went from like $18,000 a year in salary at a church. It was a full-time like minister.
Oh,
So
really?
yeah, dude, did the real estate thing for a year. And then, man, like 2 years after that, I was like cash millionaire, making millions of dollars a year. And
Welcome to Seven Figure Entrepreneur Podcast, the number one podcast bringing you behind the scenes with real online earners. No fake gurus here. Today, we have the wonderful Taylor Welch and the wonderful Tyler Devon.
What's up, everyone?
We've been trying to line up this podcast for a minute, and I am excited to finally be here. Welcome.
dude, thanks for having me. And thanks for putting up with me in the schedule. Thanks for just not giving up on me.
Oh, Gabe's wife, who books all our podcasts, told me that you have a busier schedule than I have. So it was kind of like a funny inside running joke we had for a minute there.
Yeah. Well, I'm working on that.
We all share calendars, and it's just a complete mess constantly.
Mm-hmm.
So how she finds time for any of us is absolutely amazing.
Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah.
Cool, man. Well, appreciate you popping on, dude. Just for people who aren't familiar on you, do you mind giving a brief bio of what you do?
Yeah, well, it's changed. So the old businesses that I was running, I've exited those. And so my calendar is slowly but surely getting a little bit better, a little bit more margin. So I started doing real estate in 2014 in a little town called Memphis, Tennessee. And then from there learned marketing and decided that I liked marketing better than real estate. So I got into building campaigns and copywriting for people. And then those businesses blew up. We went from 0 employees to about 200 employees, from nothing to almost $95 million last year in revenue. And then I exited 2 of the brands, moved a lot of the capital from one class of real estate into a different class of real estate, kind of retired for 2 months and then was like, this isn't it. So started something new, and now I'm just back in build mode. So I don't know if that answers your question at all, but that's kind of what I'm doing now.
Oh, it makes sense.
There's parts we can dissect, so it's all good, man.
Yeah.
You know, it's funny, actually, we've been talking a lot about real estate. We had a podcast earlier this week, and we were talking to a guy up in Toronto, and he's going after the same formula I'm going after, which is make your money online and invest offline in real estate. It sounds like you kind of have a bit of the same formula yourself.
Yeah, I am a huge fan of owning things instead of having to do things. But I hit a rough patch where I got a little confused, and I was trying to buy businesses, and I realized through that process, like, if you're as good at building as I am, you don't buy businesses.
Yeah,
because I was just getting so annoyed. I had to inherit systems and inherit cultures, and the culture was stupid, and I have to fix that. And I was like, I'm just going to buy buildings and build businesses. So that's kind of my thing now, is like build businesses, buy real estate, and just have fun. So I think commercial right now is pretty interesting to hop into, because everyone's freaked out about, what's going to happen in the government and the economy. And so commercial's got some pretty good opportunities we're diving into. But yeah.
We joined the Contrarian Academy, the Matty Koshman inner circle one. We have a call with him every Tuesday, and he talks about that same thing. Yeah. He says there's a huge opportunity in commercial right now, and one of the plays he actually taught us was buy it, rezone it, flatten it, and then sell this industrial or multifamily, obviously.
So many different sub niches, you can just do incredible things, almost overwhelmingly so. Yeah, because you're like, well, there's 9 million ways to do something, and so people just get stuck in trying to mix and match. But he's smart. He's really, really smart. I like.
Yeah, man, he's on the ball for sure, man. That guy's making pretty big moves too.
Yeah, he's really good at the personal brand side of things too, man. I feel like he kind of came out of nowhere in the last, I don't know, maybe 7 to 10 years, and just really built up that crazy brand. I guess it's pretty easy when you have a collection like that.
Dude, yeah, you got 20. I was gonna say you got $20 million of exotics. People are gonna start following you.
Yeah, no doubt, right?
Yeah.
Man, I bet it's even more than
crazy.
that now. Those like some of those cars are like 5 a pop, like 6 a pop.
It's
Like it's
insane.
nuts.
He'll
But one of the guys that I really like, he's in storage, and we've only talked a few times, but man, his like big thing is he's taking money even out of storage and putting it into old Porsche models, naturally aspirated, like the old and I mean those things are appreciating $200,000, $300,000 a year.
Oh
I'm
yeah,
like,
easy.
what is happening? It's insane.
that's crazy, man.
Yeah. So he's got
Yeah.
like
And
5 or 6 of them that just sit in a garage, you know?
yeah,
Good for
I
him.
believe I believe it. And it's like it's kind of like a cool investment in the sense that it's like fun to look at versus like a building, you know? Like I mean, like I get it, it's a different playing field for sure. Like
Yeah.
a building's worth way more. I don't know.
Nah, man.
The answer is
Buildings are
both.
trash. Buildings are trash compared to Porsches. Just get cars.
Yeah. Finally, a guy who's all about Porsches. I'm here for it.
Yeah, man. They're the
Let's talk
best.
about the businesses you're into, man. What kind of like so if you like building businesses, what kind of things do you look for? What kind of businesses kind of catch your eye? And you know, how do you make your choice on what you want to build?
Right now it's mostly anything that is strategically aligned, like with a core main business. So we have the main consultancy, it's the wealthy consultant. And we're essentially taking people who are experts, but they're locked up in corporate America or the health system, or you know, they're doing things they don't like, but they're good at what they do that they don't like, which is always the hamster wheel that you get
Yeah.
into. And we're teaching them and building out with them consulting firms that revolve around their expertise. So
Interesting.
you got to picture somebody who is a you know, manager at Allstate or State Farm or somewhere in the country that's doing managerial work. They're making $250,000 a year, and they can't replace that anywhere.
Yeah.
But they hate it. It's like, well, you could consult and we could customize an offer, and you could replace 250K a year in 3 months, like easy, you know. So we're
Interesting.
taking those people out of corporate America into the consulting world. But my model's unique because you know, most consultants, especially today, they're not doing $100 million. They've never even gotten close to it. So the way that you build for scale is wildly different than the way you build to just do 50, 60 grand a month in
Totally.
revenue. And so we've got 4 different phases. This is the main business, and I'll circle back to your question. We're basically building people through 4 phases that builds, you know, exit liquidity inside of the business. And so they're putting systems in place, team in place, multiple forms of redundant acquisition in place. Like private equity is not going to come in and buy a consulting brand that just runs on paid traffic ever,
Totally.
because they're not stupid. They're going to be like, forget that. They're not going to build, they're not going to buy a consulting brand that is tied to your face, you know. What they're after is the boring business, like something that's just super repeatable. And so the funny thing about it is, to build the firm, you have to build it around one platform and one face. But to sell the firm, you have to have 10 platforms and multiple faces. And so we take them through that process. Within 4, 5, 6 years, you know, they can exit the brand. They never have to work again if they don't want to. So that's the main brand.
That's
But
awesome, dude. I love that.
yeah, dude, it's a lot of fun. And
Yeah, man.
what I'm building around that is just like serviceable type offerings that contribute to that main brand. So for example, there's a copywriting agency that's actually really, really well run. I will acquire a piece of that. So I'm down to I'm not against M&A or acquisitions. But I'm only acquiring strategic. I'm not acquiring for cash flow, because I feel like real estate's superior from a cash flow standpoint. But the strategic acquisitions, if it feeds into the main brands,
You
then it's
think
on the table.
real estate's superior from a cash flow perspective compared to a business?
100,000%, zero doubt about it. And anybody who disagrees with that doesn't understand return on effort at all, at all.
Interesting. Because I just found that obviously my business spits off far more cash flow than my real estate.
Well, not really. It spits off more revenues. It doesn't spit off more cash flow, because cash flow is passive. That's what I'm talking about with investing cash flow. And so when you look at yield and dividends,
So we're
your return
comparing
on
passive
effort,
and active income then.
100%. So people think it's true. Like, okay, you can go buy a laundromat, or you can go buy this thing, and then you can install an operator. Okay. You can do all these things, but it's like, bro, that's not really like passive investing. You've got to manage that operator and you got to manage stuff. When you look at like, we're building 14 condos here in downtown Nashville. And the first ones are getting done next month and they're beautiful. And we'll do nightly rentals and it's one loan, one portfolio, 14 different doors.
You're doing like an Airbnb model there?
Yeah.
Nice.
I'll do nothing. Like I'll do nothing ever at all, period. So when you put money into a syndication, you just get checks every quarter. And to me, that's a superior form of capital protection and cash flow from an investor standpoint. Whereas business is like, man, yeah, I buy businesses to make more money, but it's not really passive cash flow.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. It's not passive at all. But then, okay, so getting back to what you were saying there.
Gabriel is just like, what are you talking about right now?
No. I got some of it. This is just like not my forte, so I'm just listening.
He disagrees with us, is what's happening.
Nah.
Gabe's all about those Facebook ads, man. Crank them.
Dude, I'm here to learn though. That's like the part of this. So I'm all for it. Like I just shut up when there's shit I don't know about. And I'm like, teach me your ways.
So you're saying complementary businesses, so investing like a copyright, that makes sense. I'm a big fan of like strategic moves too, man, because I feel like that's the opportunities where 1 + 1 = 4 as opposed to 1 + 1 = 2.
100%. Yeah, because there's the compounding synergy in the middle.
Yeah. What other kind of like strategic businesses are you looking to bring on board to support the team?
Paid media agency, because that also supports the team. Well, probably. So I would hire. I would buy an operations. Like if there was a really good firm that like trained operations people.
Yeah.
I would probably go into that, but I haven't found one that's up to par. So we might just build it.
I think even finding good operations people is challenging.
Yeah, because it's hard to find them. They almost have to be built a little bit.
Interesting, man. When so your last company that you exit, was that the one you had 95 million revenue a year and 200 employees?
So the 95 million was the portfolio. So that was the single family real estate. It was traffic and funnels. It was sales mentor, intelligent advertiser, and one more. It was like a super small brand. So it was a portfolio of companies that did that. Yeah. So with the single family, with the way the market it has started reacting, like last year we slowed down on what we were buying. The supply chain. Our model was we would buy houses and then we would rebuild the houses and then we would put a tenant in them, reappraise it, and then we would either keep it or we would flip it to an investor.
Gotcha.
Margins disappeared in that business mid to late last year. At one point we had 60 houses we couldn't get windows for. I was like, well, what do? You just sit there, And so that was a pretty rough time for the single family stuff. I was like, I'm out of this. Like, let's just sell everything and move it into different asset classes. And so that we didn't exit that business. We just reallocated capital.
Gotcha. So do you still have some of those houses? Or did you just get rid of them?
Like 50, 40 or
Gotcha.
50.
So quite a few.
Yeah, we sold like 200. So we sold a lot of them. Then the traffic and funnels brands, I brought in a freaking awesome CEO to run it. And so I've still got equity in it. I just don't have as much equity in it. And so still have some carry on it. And then Sales Mentor, they're rebuilding Sales Mentor at the moment, but there's a new CEO in that one as well. So those are just kind of cranking along,
Nice, dude. How do you go about finding like good CEOs to replace you?
Man, I wish I had a great system for that. I don't have a system for that. I know there are some people in my network that if we needed to headhunt, we could headhunt. But the people that have done a great job that have actually replaced me up to the standard necessary, they've come from in network or in team, or they worked with me or for me at some point, or they were a client at some point. I've just become a collector of good people, I think.
Yeah.
Like if there's a guy right now that he just joined the team, and I've been like sort of courting him for like years, just keeping in touch. Dude's talented, saw something in him. And he's kind of bounced around and he's done different things and he worked for me for a little bit, then he went to do something different. It's just like I always knew there was something in the future. And so
Yeah.
I think I've been really good as a steward of just like good people, just like staying in touch. I had a conversation earlier this week with a guy that will do stuff together at some point in the future, just not right now. I just keep in touch with those people, like constantly keeping it warm, you know.
Dude, I found a
And
lot of good entrepreneurs do that, man. I think that's like a skill that
great
entrepreneurs don't
practice.
talk about.
Yeah. You have to go long term on it because it's kind of a waste of time if you're transactional,
Agreed,
you know.
100%.
But if you're not transactional and you're more relational with it, then you've just got great friends and great relationships. And I made the mistake too. Like my come up was really fast, and so I went from like $18,000 a year in salary at a church. I was a full-time like minister.
Oh, really?
Did the real estate thing for a year, and then man, like 2 years after that, I was like cash millionaire, making millions of dollars a year. And so part of my problem at the beginning is I burned a lot of relationships, and
Yeah.
I actually got the opportunity to get that out of my system early because I
Yeah.
was just like, you know, I'm like how much money I made $1 million last year. Like all y'all are stupid. Everybody's poor. Like, and I was like that person that we all hate. Like we all
Yeah.
hate
Yeah.
that person. But I got to experience it early, and so I got it out of my system. And now, like, for the last like 5 years, it's like okay, well, people are everything. So treat people the right way, and it's just like you have somebody at all times you can call. That's the number one asset.
100%, man. I agree.
Yeah.
I
Man,
I
how do
find
you
guys
grow
that
that fast?
go ahead.
Like that's pretty insane, like for most people to come up in like a year and go from like $18,000 a year to millions.
Yeah, we could go as deep into that or as shallow as you want. I mean, it's up to you.
Deep's cool, man. I'm cool with deep. It's up to you, wherever you want to do.
Yeah. Well, so I'm predisposed a bit from a personality standpoint. Um, I don't know if you guys are into like personality testing and things like that. Like,
Yeah, big
you guys
time.
get it?
Yeah.
So I'm an INTJ, on the Myers-Briggs. I'm also, I came up in a family that like forced me to attend like John Maxwell conferences and Zig Ziglar. Like I heard of I remember being just a kid and thinking this dude is such an idiot. Like on the way to get Chick-fil-A, like why are we having to listen to this?
Yeah.
And in hindsight, I'm really grateful for it. But in the moment, I hated it. It was just the worst. Every kid wants to listen to not John Maxwell. Let's
Yeah.
put it
Yeah.
that way. So
What did your
when I
parents do?
huh?
What did your parents do?
My dad was a upper like vice president level at Allstate in
Gotcha.
insurance. So he came up in white collar and corporate America and all that fantastic, horrible worlds.
Yeah,
So,
gotcha.
but anyways, I just I had a personality for it because I was pretty good with people, and then to be honest with you, I was conditioned for failure as a kid because of all of the things that I was listening to. When I say conditioned for failure, I was conditioned to not be afraid of it. Because that's what they all talk about. If you listen to some of the best in the world, they talk about failure is actually a recipe for getting experience. And
Yeah,
so,
big
you know,
time.
my first couple of things that I tried to do were awful. And I think a lot of people, they slow down, they get scared of that. They're like, how do I prevent the next mistakes? And for me, I was just like, well, cool. I'm just building experience faster. So when you compare me to even like business partners that I've had back in the day, I'm always 10 years younger than everyone.
Mm-hmm.
Always, you know, because I was able to condense so much experience inside of a small subset of time because I was mistake after mistake, rapid fire going through it. And then there's also, you know, I'm naturally a creative. So I got into copywriting. And, you know, at first I thought copywriting was how you like protect music with the government. Like I didn't understand that you could write words and make money. But my brain was already conditioned for that because I was a musician. And so getting into copywriting, there's all of these different things. And people think that, success is ultimately, it's really simple, but it's usually a co-laboring of like multiple different fronts that just layer on top
Not
of
a
each
straight
other.
line.
It's not a straight line. And like I hired my first coach ever. This is a fascinating story. I hired my first coach ever, and he took my credit card, ran the payment, and then blocked me on all social media and never responded to me again. Years later, the FTC banged him, and the whole thing was a scam. And my response to that, after telling my wife that I just wasted, $6 grand, was saving up and hiring another coach. And most people would think that's crazy. That's crazy. He just got burned. And then the second coach didn't work. It was actually, I thought it was a coach, but it was actually Infusionsoft. I bought a software that the dude told me was like a coach. And it was like extra consulting that I had to pay for the marketing. And that didn't work either. And my
Yeah.
response to that was I hired a third coach, and his name was Seth. And Seth was an actual coach, was able to help me. But how many people do you know, like in their first 30 days of trying to figure something out, would go bang, bang, bang like that?
Dude,
Not
not
many
that
people.
tight.
Nobody.
Not many people. And so that's like what I'm saying. That's, I was conditioned for this idea of like, I made a bad decision. What's the only way for me to fix the bad decision? Another decision.
Yeah.
I was conditioned for it. And that was able to shave off a year worth of learning. But when you compress that down to multiple things, it's shaved off 60 years of learning, like compounded together. And we're doing it again. Like I was joking around with the buddy who runs a lot of our ads. And I'm like, dude, I want to go slow. Like I want to go slow with this round because I've done the whole like 9-figure bullshit and like, you know, lose your freaking sanity because all you can do is work. But I got a 3-year-old at home. I love my wife. I want to be married. I want to enjoy my friends and I want to go slow. And so I'm capping us next year at 15 million. And he's like, that's not slow, right? I was like, well, it feels slow to me. Like, and he's like, it's your second year of the business and you're capping yourself at 15 million. He's like, it's just funny how you live in a bubble. And it's like, yeah, I do live in a bubble. And I think that the more people we can get to live in their own bubble, or the more successful the world will collectively become. Like this, what if we all disconnected from the news? Like you'll make better decisions if you just don't watch TV, if you
Yeah, I
don't
agree.
listen to people at all. Like go into your own bubble. Whatever you say is real can be real, and then make decisions that way. And it was just an interesting conversation because I was like, yeah, you're right. I think I am in a bubble, but so be it. That's great.
You
Dude,
know,
that's
I
awesome.
think one of the most dangerous words is the word realistic. Be
Yeah,
realistic. What the fuck does
100%.
that mean?
Yeah.
Nothing. Yeah.
Exactly, man. That's such a subjective term because what's realistic for any one of us, one would be different. And then compared to someone who hasn't done something yet, even more so.
Yeah.
Dude, I love your speed too, man. Like that's amazing. Like I feel like that's a big thing that you didn't really like, you kind of said, but you didn't really say, is just like how fast you implement.
Yeah. That is true. That is true. That is hard on team.
Yeah.
So that's been counterintuitively good for, I think, the brands, but also hard on team. So we kind of prep people when they come in for that.
That's smart.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What other things do you think, like, so first one, like an easy way to phrase it would be mindset. Obviously, you had an awesome mindset geared for failure. So failure wasn't a bad thing for you. It was just a learning consequence. What else do you think helped achieve rapid growth that you've seen?
Tactically, we can go into marketing type things if you want, but tactically, just from like optimizing the human, because a lot of times businesses don't grow even if the fundamentals are there because there's like a bad human trying to grow. Like swap the human and the business would grow, and people hate that. They hate it. They never want to admit that like you're just a suboptimal human because of how you run your life.
Yeah.
Like, well, that's really mean. And it's like, well, all you do is sleep. And you never read anything. So, there is something to be said for how you actually harness the willpower of a person growing a business. So for me, one of the ways that I did that was I got into have you guys heard of the app called Day One?
I've not heard of day one.
It's probably my favorite app in the world. And what it is a journaling app. So I started 2014, I believe, was my very first. I'm actually going to tell you. One sec. I'm going to pull it up.
I'm pulling up this day one.
Yeah, I'm doing the
right
same
now.
thing. I actually wonder if I did pick it up.
So, dude, Wednesday, January 1st, 2014 was my very first journal entry in day one. As of today, I've got over 2,500 entries, individual entries.
Wow.
In this
Have you
app.
been consistent pretty much every day?
Not every day, probably 3 to 4 days a week.
Yeah.
And it'll go in spurts, but I use it as a tool for self-awareness. This is what I use it for. So the coolest thing about this app is you can put pictures in it. It's even like it tracks them geographically. So like for a while, I was going to the West Coast frequently. Like I was in San Diego or Los Angeles every 2 months. And so I've got all these entries from when I was in California. So I'm going back out to California next month to speak at a conference. And for whatever reason, I was just looking at the last time I was in San Diego, and I've got 78 different entries from when I was in San Diego. So you can organize it by geography, you can organize it by the season that you're in. But the coolest part about it is every day it'll pop up this thing. It'll be like, look at here are your entries from this day, and it'll take me to today's entries from 2021,
Wow.
2020, 2016, 2015. Human beings, we have to learn from looking back and forwards. We can't just look forwards. So we can't get just stuck in vision. If you're chronically stuck in the future, then you just become this unhappy Scrooge version of yourself. The true depth perception comes from a holistic layering of the past, the present, and the future. That's what's called, we call that self-awareness. You get into metacognition, thinking about how you're thinking. Like mindset's a lot bigger than just like, having a happy attitude. But any point I can go in and I look in my day one or my journal, and I can see how I was feeling this time last year, and I can see how I was feeling this time in 2015. And there's something crazy that happens when you have that level of self-awareness, and it speeds up and shortens the distance from like me knowing how I feel about something today. And I'm using the word feeling on purpose because I think a lot of times we use our minds and our brains and our intellects, but the gut is a mind in and of itself. The gut is its own brain. And so anytime you can become self-aware around how do I feel about this? How do I think about this? You're going to make better decisions. And then the other thing is I'll do reviews. And so I do weekly reviews. So if you think about this, like we go through a week, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Then again, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. We go through these week to week. Most people are doing a review once a year. Hey, how was the year? What did I do well? What did I not do well? What do I need to change? Well, I'm doing it every week. So for every year, you get one review, and I get 52 years worth of reviews. So I'm going to grow faster, period.
Yeah.
And then for a
Is that
while,
just
I was
like
doing
really
daily
doing an
reviews.
evaluation of like, what you did right, what you did wrong, your opportunities for growth?
Yeah. So right now, my current sprint right now, like, cause I changed these. Yeah, I won't do a daily review every week or every month. I'll go through sprints and seasons. And so I'll decide. So right now I'm on 3 days a week. Monday, Wednesday, Fridays before bed, I do an end of day review, and then I do a weekly review. So what does that look like? Before I go to bed, I write down what my goals are for the season. And it doesn't even matter what the goals are. The point is not what my goals are. The point is how I'm achieving them. And so I write them down. They're locked in my subconscious. I'm going to bed thinking about them. I write how the day was. What would I advise doing differently tomorrow? This is a big one. If I were a client of mine, what would I advise doing differently tomorrow? Because here's the secret. If you go to bed and you're like, if I repeated today 1,000 days in a row, I'd be freaking rich and mega. I'd be so close to my goals. You won. If you're going to bed and you say, if I repeated today 1,000 days in a row, I'd be literally homeless. You lost. The key is knowing which one it is. Like, did you win the day? Did you lose the day? And changing it for tomorrow. And then I rate myself based on spirituality. How close to God am I? Scale of 1 to 10. Relationships, family, like that too is lumped together. Momentum / business. This is for me. Like, am I in rhythm? Am I not in rhythm? Things need to be fixed. Finances, and then physical and mental. And so for physical, did I hit, you know, my workout? Did I get fatter today? Like what's going on? And then
Yeah.
mental, did I get smarter? And so on a scale of 1 to 10, I'm rating myself daily. And like most times I'm like a 5 to 7 on everything. But every once in a while, I'll be at a 2, be like something's got to change, and I'll change it tomorrow or change it next week. And so you think about that, like, you know, I'm getting so much data logged in and updated compared to most people, then I'm going to evolve 50 times faster.
Dude, it makes sense, man. Like one thing we've noticed internally is anytime we've done performance reviews for our team, like even if it was good, bad, indifferent, there's always been an increase in productivity afterwards, always. And so imagine, like I'm thinking about doing that on a daily basis. Like, holy shit, where would I be? You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yep. You should do it.
I feel like that brings a new level to your self-awareness too, because if you're actually digging in and writing all those details about yourself, like there's no lying to yourself in those moments. Like you can try and lie to yourself in the beginning maybe and like fake it, but then like there's a reality to that comes.
Yep.
Yeah.
I love it, man. You know what's interesting, dude? I find like the people who build I don't even know if it'd be biggest, fastest, but like just some of the more successful I've seen an entrepreneur be, the internal game is huge, so critical. And guys who I've seen like kind of like flash in the pans, maybe they made a lot, they burnt out. The internal game was not there.
It's probably everything, actually.
Yeah. It all starts there, man.
Yep.
Yeah. So are you doing any, like, do you have any mentors now, or do you do any coaching now on the level that you're at?
Yeah, I do. I went 3 years without having a coach. And there were areas in my life I got stuck because you never see objectively the same way somebody else does
Totally.
outside. So I have a mindset performance coach. Her name is Dr. Julie. She's out in New York, and she's ruthless. And man, the first conversation we had, because she does corporate retainers, and she's got a bunch of hedge fund people. She just coaches entrepreneurs on the side because it's fun. So
Yeah.
our very first conversation, she's like, I'll never share anything we talk about unless I'm subpoenaed due to something that you did. I was like, wow, we are out of the internet marketing bubble.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, exactly. Like you can
it.
tell she's had some crazy people. But one of the things that she did, she's like, you're looping in these 4 areas, and you know, we need to fix it. And you know, you're weak in how you're thinking through XYZ. And so it was amazing having a coach.
Dude, I love that.
I've got a couple of mentors who are like, I don't pay them, but they are older, and I know that I can trust what they're saying.
Yeah.
And you know, I think that at a certain point, like I'll keep paying people forever. Like I pay Dr. Julie, like I'll pay people to teach me. But some of my favorite ones are the ones who are just like, they don't want money.
Yeah.
You know? So
That's cool, man.
Yeah, man. I got some really good local friends like that. I've one friend locally, he sold five companies now, and most people don't even sell one. And like the little stuff I've learned from him about selling companies, it's not something you could find in a book, or that you would easily find. Like when I've watched, videos on YouTube about it, it's like the little things that he did that made all the difference. And it's just been massive. And we'll go for lunch once a week or whatever it is, but it's like that relationship has been so invaluable, not only from a personal stance, because, we're really good friends, but from a business perspective and mentorship point of view.
yeah, it's amazing. Well, I was on the phone with somebody who I consider a mentor down in Dallas. This was like a couple months ago. And I'd done a real estate deal, and it did not turn out good at all.
Yeah.
Which is going to happen. In fact, I have a little bit of a bone to pick with people who are like, I've never lost money. And it's like, dude, I would run for the hills from anyone who says they've never lost money. Because if they'll lie to you on that, they'll lie about other stuff. There's like tremendous power in just being honest and transparent. So I did a deal, and it didn't work out well. And there were problems with the team. I should have underwritten it better. And I'm basically talking to this guy on the phone, and I'm like, freaking over. Like my reputation is ruined. Like I have nothing. And he's like, have you ever been poor? I said, yeah, like really poor.
Yeah.
And he said, did you die? I was like, it's a silly question. Like, obviously no. And he's like, you got nothing to worry about then. Just the ease with which he shrugged it off. And he's like 70 years old. And I'm like, how do you do that? Like, how do you not allow yourself to be like so bothered by things? There's a lot of money. He said, when I was 40 years old, I showed up to work one day at a company that I built, and the board had exercised a legal loophole and forced me out of the company. No payment, nothing. I just was fired from my own company. I was like, how can you even do this? It was in the bylaws. Same day, my wife filed for divorce.
Fuck.
And I went home. I had nothing. Like I had no savings. Like this was a very successful clinic. And I went out and I found a field, and I climbed over the fence, which in Texas they call that trespassing. And I went and I went and sat under a tree and just cried for 3 hours. And then I got up and I rebuilt my life. And it was the best thing that ever happened because I was successful, but I wasn't whole. There were some things that needed to be fixed. He said, now I own the land that I was trespassing on, like the 1,000 acres around the land as well. And I have more money than I even know what to do with. 600 employees, $500 million. And I don't care about any of it. It doesn't matter. And none of it matters. Your assets under management are not your cash, your buildings, your cars. Your assets under management is your education, family. Until you switch the definition of assets under management to the things that you can never lose. Because right now, your definition of assets under management are things that can be taken from you. You won't be happy. I was like, dude, that's why we need to have mentors who
That's crazy. I love that, man.
You can't pay them. You can't pay them. Like they're not going to take your money.
It's not going to be worth it. Yeah.
Wouldn't it be worth it? And so conversations like that at this point are like some of the most valuable to me. I mean, I'll pay somebody to just look at my ads, and I'll pay somebody to like come in, destroy this business, like tell me what to do. But for the most part, you get to the place where you're just like, tell me when you have failed. And if you can tell me when you have failed, that's all I need to know from you to keep going.
I love it, man.
That's so cool. That's a cool story.
One time I was sitting down with these two older guys, and they were telling me one thing they noticed that they would like buy and sell companies and stuff like that. And one thing they noticed about guys who were like multi-billionaires, they would make a decision and lose $100 million and just move on like it was nothing. Like it was done, gone, cool, on to the next thing. And it never impacted them. We're like, fuck, do you think half the people out, or like just the huge part of the world would, completely crumble under that? So I think there's a lot of wisdom in what you just said, man. So thank you for that share.
Absolutely. Yeah, it changed my life. So
makes you think deeper for sure. What popping into real estate, man, you're saying like you switched asset classes on that. So you went from single family homes, and it sounds like you're probably going to continue to transition. What class are you most excited about, and how come?
Two different types are exciting to me right now. There's a convergence of two different, I guess, types of real estate that I'm pretty excited about that's over here. And then there's an old class of real estate that's over here that I'm investing in both. The first is, development has become a bigger deal. You've got these people going in and they're doing what's called like BFRs, build for rent, like massive portfolios of neighborhoods that they're building ground up. Equity's already locked kind of in the deal. And then they're holding them, flipping them to permanent finance and renting them out. That was one trend. And then another trend was nightly rentals. And so we built a fund that goes into the intersection of build for rent and nightly rentals. And so we're developing condominiums and different portfolios of nightly rental properties ground up. And then once they're done, we convert them into permanent, put the license on the actual LLC. So put the permits on the LLC so that we can keep them long-term and then rent them out. So that's the first thing. We're doing that in Nashville. We're doing that in
when you say rent them out, do you mean sell or like just maintain, take the cash flow?
No, rent them out on like they're nightly rentals, so like Airbnb, VRBO.
Or you said rent them out. Oh, did you say rent them out?
Rent them out, yeah.
Gotcha. I thought I heard rent, so I thought maybe there was a disposition involved.
No, rent them out. So like the development here in Nashville was $12 million. And then you add in like that $12 million is the build cost, but it's also the furnishing of the portfolio. So
Gotcha.
nightly rentals is different because you got to put beds and everything and decor on the inside and all of the different fancy stuff, internet, what utilities, there's like all of that's wrapped in. You've got to pay that. So we'll have those done this fall. There's already $2.5 million of free equity in them. So they were reappraised at 14 million. So it's Nashville. So it's like you find the right market and you can just double down on it.
Yeah, no doubt.
And then with nightly rentals, that syndication will do 32 to 38% internal rate of return. It's a capital return off of refi in 4 years.
Yeah.
Investors in the syndication will get their money back. They'll keep ownership and cash flow from the property for another 4 years. It's 10 to 20% cash flow. It's just like you can't
That's awesome,
find
dude.
stuff to compete with that kind of return.
Yeah.
Unless you're doing, mom and pop deals. So that's one style. The other is I'm investing into triple net easy, like medical facilities, or there's a really cool partner that I'm investing into buildings up in Illinois and Missouri with, and it's a franchise. It's called Beefaroo. And I've never even heard of this before, this guy, but they're like freaking Chick-fil-A meets Arby's in Illinois.
Really?
Each one. So Chick-fil-A franchise does 3-ish million on average. You got McDonald's, it's like 1.8 to 2. And these are like 3 to 3.5 a year. So they're very, very, like there's a cult following where they're at.
Dude, I've never even heard of Beefaroo before.
I haven't either. That's why I was like, let me look at the actual numbers of the franchise and see if but it checks out. And then we're buying the buildings, and then there's with creative deal structuring, there's rent guarantees, there's PGs on the buildings, and it's just really like I think we've de-risked the deal so much that I'm comfortable buying several of them. Nice. And so that's all triple net. We don't have to talk to the tenant or ever touch it. So we've got some medical, like an ER facility. We have like an urgent care around the same area, doing some franchising. So it's very different. One is like the development stuff is like cash flow, and you're going to 3x your money.
Yeah.
It's growth. It's multiplication. It's like pulling in income. The triple net stuff, nobody invests in triple net really for cash flow. I mean, it's there, but it's not amazing. It's like a 6 cap, but you're like, I'm completely eliminating tax liabilities from it. I won't pay taxes because deferring all the taxes. So it's a different game.
So I kind of want to chat about that a little bit, man, because that's probably the thing that attracted to me most. Like, it's because as far as like tax strategies, like I've tried to look at a bunch of different stuff, man, like even as far as like looking offshore and stuff, but a lot of that stuff seemed pretty risky. So I'm like, okay, what's going to be like one of the cleanest ways to save money on taxes? That's being, it's gone through the court, so it's tried, tested, true, and I'm not gonna have a problem. I'm not gonna have to worry. Freaking real estate, man. Just cost segregation alone completely opened up my eyes to what's possible.
Yep.
And then how you can roll over profits. You never sell. You can just refi, pull that cash out. That's a loan, so you never pay taxes on that. Like, it's insane what a wealth building tool real estate is. If people don't invest in real estate, they're missing the boat.
I agree. And then you got whole life to wrap up in there too. And so I have several permanent insurance policies, and nobody really talks about this stuff, but that does the same. It's the same thing where it's like, once my policies are funded, by the time I'm 40 years old, I'll have between 800 and 1.2 million a year in tax-free income, just clockwork, no taxes.
What's that whole life policy called again?
There's several of them. It's not infinite banking.
What's the pre-funded one though? Because I know you're talking about there.
There's IULs, there's the infinite banking concepts like IBC. And then there's fixed pay, like whole life. There's a lot of different kinds. If you want a connection, I'll connect you with somebody.
Yeah, I recently did something myself that was similar, man. But you're right, honestly, guys don't talk about that at all.
No.
And it's amazing what you can get done out there.
Yep.
I love it, man. How do you, as far as like going after different opportunities, because like we're talking about like real estate with nightly rentals to beefaroo, bro. Like there's a little bit of everything. How do you decide on what opportunities to go after and which ones to pass on? And I did hear you say something earlier that kind of like sparked a light for me, which was de-risk. I'm kind of curious to talk about like your perspective on how you de-risk things. Because I think people think entrepreneurship is risky, starting a business is risky. But shit, I think someone else guiding my future is risky.
Yeah. Yeah, there's different types of risk. And how I decide like what to tackle and what to not. There's like there's a mental component to it. Do I have time to like put my own insurance on this deal or not? Like, can I, there are some things where it's just like I can insure this because I have the time to force it to work,
Mm-hmm.
But the busier you get, and this is what has been an Achilles heel for me, is you get a little success here, a little success there, a little success there, and it's like all of a sudden you're like, I am God. Everything I touch is great, and then you lose, and you lose
Yeah.
really big, and you get punched in the face, and you have to remember, like, okay, I need to be conservative and maybe consolidate. And so I think a time thing is big. When it came down to like the development stuff and the nightly rentals, I wanted to make sure that I had a team that I could trust to manage it. And if at any point I felt like I didn't have that team, I would pull out of it. Like part of the reason that I got hurt on the single family deals that I was telling you about earlier when I was talking to this mentor in Texas is because there was a team issue that wasn't underwritten properly. And so it caused me to slow down and really go back to the fundamentals of like, is there protocol in place to protect us from making silly decisions? Are we moving slow enough here? Are there guarantees inside of the deals? Like what all is inside of the makeup of the actual equation? And then with
Mm-hmm.
real estate, it's pretty easy. Like if you get the location right, if you get the development team right, and then if you have the right management team, you're probably going to be relatively okay. You know,
Mm-hmm.
like in Nashville, you put a tent up on the side of the street, and somebody's going to appraise it at $1 million.
Oh
It's
yeah.
like, cool, let's
Dude,
go.
that's been like Vancouver, Canada for like, they would say real estate works in 7-year cycles. I grew up just outside of Vancouver. I'm like, shit, man, they had a 35-year run. I think
Dude,
stuff
it's yeah,
like
insane.
slowing down now, but
Yeah.
you get the right market, it's almost nothing else matters.
Nothing else really matters. Like, but it does. Like at the same time,
For
like
sure.
I one of my favorite guys to listen to is Keith Cunningham, and he talks about this in the '80s. He's like, the biggest mistake you could have made in real estate is just not buy something. It's the
Yeah.
biggest mistake, and then everything crashed. It had $150 million of debt, personally guaranteed debt. I'm like, oh my God, dude, how would you do that? But it happens because you win repetitively. And if you don't lose for too long, you forget that you can lose.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's a big problem. And so if I have the time for it, then I'm good. It's when I don't have the time for it that I've got to have people around me that are going to check me. Like Gabrielle that you guys met earlier. She'll just be like, do we want to do that? Because you're not even responding to my text messages. And like, you seem pretty busy. And so I have people who are honest with me.
That's gold.
My brother's on the team, Peyton, and he'll be like, "Yeah, this sounds good, but dude, we're not gonna do that." Because for me, I'm an entrepreneur, and I'm like a thoroughbred entrepreneur. Like we could start 19 things tomorrow, and I would have a blast until Sunday, and I'd cancel
Yeah.
them.
Yeah.
So having people that are for real and aren't afraid of what you are gonna say, they're just gonna tell you what's honest. It's pretty important. And then when it comes to de-risking, you can de-risk things like you can collateralize things. You can, like for one of the deals in Branson, we actually paid someone to PG the deck because I didn't want to PG it because I'm PGing something different. And so we brought him in and we paid him a small percentage of the GP and then a small fee on like a kicker just to PG the loan in case something goes wrong during construction. It's like,
Mm-hmm.
bro, you can do all sorts of things like that just remove you from the main source of
In the
guarantee.
equation. Do you want to explain what PG is in case people don't know?
Just personal guarantor. Like if the deal goes sideways, the bank's going to come to you to have you pay for it, essentially.
So basically, by doing that, you can transfer the risk over.
Yeah.
I love it, man. That's fucking awesome. I love
Yeah.
all of it.
Yeah, dude.
Sign me up for a beefaroo. That sounds cool too.
Well, I'll send you some stuff. And if Gabe says your contact, we'll just send you a couple of deals.
Yeah, perfect.
Love it.
We've actually been looking in the industrial space ourselves, like infrastructure type stuff.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
Very cool.
I love it, man. Well, dude, this has been sick.
Yeah,
Cool.
really appreciate it, man. I know it took a while to get here, but I'm glad we did it because you had some great insight, man. Like, I don't think we've ever gone this deep on the real estate side of things before, which is really cool, especially for a lot of people who listen to us have cash and they're trying to roll it over into real estate. So it makes sense.
I think the thought process too are so key, man. Like the daily check-in, like Ray Dalio talks about. I'm sure you've read Dalio's stuff before.
Yeah.
Where he talks about like you look at your your decision-making process and how his whole like success loops works. Like it's all straightforward, but it's the work that no one does, but it's the work that's the difference maker.
Yep. Yeah. 100%.
Very cool.
100%. Yeah, dude. Anytime you guys need anything, let us know. We're happy to send you deals or whatever. If people follow me on Twitter and they want to invest in stuff, I've always got deal flow on Twitter as well.
Yeah. Do you want to say where people can find you?
Sure. Yeah. Twitter, the username is Taylor A. Welch, twitter.com/Taylor A. Welch. We have a YouTube channel that we're going to start building here pretty soon, and we'll go deep into some of this stuff as well.
Cool.
Again, youtube.com/Taylor A. Welch, Instagram, Taylor A. Welch. Taylor A. Welch is the thing across all platforms.
Cool.
I was able to get in early and lock it all down.
Nice. Yeah, we'll put it all below this video too.
What's your go-to channel?
Huh?
What's your go-to channel if people want to reach out to you on real estate stuff? Would it be Twitter?
Twitter.
Yeah.
Cool.
Awesome.
All right. Thanks for everyone listening today. For everyone watching, please do not forget to subscribe to our YouTube. And for everyone listening, please give us a 5-star review on iTunes, Spotify, Amazon, or Stitcher. Thank you so much, man. Appreciate your time.
Yeah, brother. It was great, man. Thank you.
See you guys.
Have a good one. Later.